So I am on my lunch break. It is, I don't know, 11:30 or something like that. And I just finished a 3-hour class. We have what's called block, and block is where first and second periods are combined for subjects that need it. And so I literally broke down in the middle of class because I'm teaching seniors. These kids are leaving high school and going to college, hopefully, after they finish. We had 2 paragraphs to read, 1 sentence complete to write. I gave them the sentence stems. I basically completed the sentence for them in the model. These are 17 and 18-year-old kids, and they couldn't fill in 4 words. 4 words. I gave them the scenario. We annotated together. I gave them the answers before we even had the problem. And they couldn't do it. I don't know. I simply don't know where the problem is. This is only day 2. And I have seniors who simply cannot read and seniors who cannot write. They cannot write. They can reason. They have the ability to defend their reasoning if it's talking to their homeboy, but applying that to a written text, 2 paragraphs, and they couldn't do it. Our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls oh, God.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised. And he said he doesn't know what the problem is. Well, we're going to tell you what the problem is. Mm-hmm. These institutions, these education institutions from K on up to college are too focused on woke social justice, DEI, gender ideology nonsense. And we're going to break it down for you today. So again, that was Houston teacher Darius Williams went on a viral video. That was his second day of school, as he mentioned. All right. It was at Wheatley High School in Houston. He's working with seniors and they can't read. But yet we see the left demonizing homeschoolers and school choice. Right, Michelle? Are you surprised at that? Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised, man. So nobody's surprised. Okay, let's just be honest. They've been telling us about these statistics before COVID, and then definitely during COVID, they released the crack and they had to admit that kids are behind and they had the nerve to blame COVID. The reality, this is 20 to 40 years in the making of failing our kids and passing them. As soon as we stop holding kids back in grades because of teachers unions, and they wanted to say that these kids were great and pass them on and get the money with the No Child Left Behind Act. Oh no, they just kept moving them on along. And this is what happens. And he's now probably public enemy number 1 to these teachers unions because he just exposed it. And it's going to be real hard to put that back in the bag when you have a man. And they're going to say, of course, an African-American, a black man crying because he cares so much about the students that were failed, and they were failed before they got to him. Shame on these schools. Shame on these unions. Shame on us for not pushing back. And there are even parents that pushed for this because they didn't want their kids held back. And now we've all failed as a society. It's dangerous. It's sad. And I feel so bad for these kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And bravo to him for
Mhm.
standing up about this, for saying something. The video has gone viral,
Yeah.
millions of views, and it's good. I'm happy that this is out there, but this should not be a surprise to anyone. For years, parents have been told that schools need to teach children about gender identity, preferred pronouns, sexual orientation, social justice, and every cultural controversy imaginable. All right. Meanwhile, the teachers are now, as you saw, crying because we have 17 and 18-year-olds struggling to read sentences. This is not a surprise. This is not a surprise for any of us on the right, on the conservative side, who have been sounding the alarm about this for years. For years.
Mhm.
It's sad though. It really is, because the ones who pay the price are the kids. Are the
Yeah.
kids. They're the innocents. But we have activists in these schools that are trying to strip them of their innocence.
Well, it's not just that. It's a who fails. We're not just. It's not just the kids. These are
No.
the future leaders.
Right.
This was a socialist agenda from the beginning. That's why they became these schools. They may as well all be leering centers at this point, because the agenda was to create what they wanted. And now you have kids that are young adults that are now illiterate. Let's just call it what it is. They're illiterate. They would have been called dumb, stupid. They would have had a dunce cap on. There would have been all kinds of things that happened to push them to actually do better and to learn. But no, the woke left wants this. Why? Because they're easier to control. They are not going to be able to go out and read what's happening. They're going to listen to what's happening. And what are they going to listen to? Whoever is top of the media of the day, whoever the mandami is of the time, is going to be able to capture the minds of a huge generation, a huge population of now adults leading a country. They're going to be in their 40s. They'll be in their, eventually. I cannot believe what we've allowed to happen. And again, it's an agenda. And they get frustrated. Now, we have studies that have proven what happens when you can't read. And when you can't write and when you can't do math, there's this anger, there's this frustration. And so what do? They don't have the same coping mechanisms. They can't even read the coping mechanism books. So we see them acting out, lashing out, getting embarrassed if they can't read. It is a vicious, disgusting cycle. And you know what pisses me off. You know what makes me angry? I already said it. It's the fact, and I'm wearing my shirt that's I'll have to show you guys, and it just says, leave the children alone. What makes me so angry is that the teachers unions don't talk about this. Mm-hmm. They go out of their way to talk about, it's because we need more money. We need more money. If we just had more money. If you had more money, you would waste more money on woke nonsense that indoctrinate our children when they can't even name 5 presidents. They don't even know we're a republic. I'm not even sure if they know the Pledge of Allegiance. At this point, I believe half of them are just mumbling through it if they're forced to say it in schools at all. So kudos to those schools who ignore what the far left is saying and what some of these unions are saying. Kudos to those schools and states like Florida that have school choice. That's how we fix some of this. Parents say, I'm going to take my kid out of that urban school that is failing, right out of that country school that is not doing right, and I'm going to put them in a charter. I'm going to put them in a private school. Or if you have the ability like me, you're going to homeschool those babies. Because I'm telling you, that is the only way we stop this machine of destruction that is coming for your kids in their minds. And guess what else they can't do? They can't read the word of God.
Right. You're right.
They're not going to be able to pick up and read their Bible. And I don't care if it's in physical form or even on an app, because they can't read. So don't tell me this is not evil. Don't tell me this is not demonic. To take away that type of tool that they need. They can't even get into the word. I have faith that if we fight back now as parents, we can fix this, but it's going to take a lot of us. It's going to take a whole lot more teachers like this man. And I applaud you, sir. I thank you. I thank you for caring enough about those kids just to finally just say something. May there be 10 times more of you, and God bless you and protect you and your job from what you just did to fight for children, our children. Thank you.
Yeah. Folks, we've got a lot more to bring to you. So stay tuned. It gets worse. It gets far worse. And we got receipts to show you how bad this school education system is. All right.
Mhm.
Across time zones and platforms, you all know this is Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. All right. I'm KJ along with Michelle Talkington, and we are going to bring you the cold hard facts from a biblical perspective. All right, from faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truth and stand firm on biblical principles. So come on in. As you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and we appreciate the support. Also, your super chats go a long way in keeping us online. So again, we appreciate each and every one. So come on in, hit that like button, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe. All right. So we're here in Maryland, and we clearly know the effects of this woke social justice curriculum that has been infused into the education system. So they really are dialing in the public schools into that sort of woke social justice, and we're seeing within the numbers that we're falling behind in reading, writing, and arithmetic. All right. Maryland particularly just fell behind Mississippi. It was all over the news. I can't remember if it was reading or math. Do you know, Michelle, or was it both?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
It's both. I'm pretty sure, but the one they were talking about definitely, I believe it was could have been the math scores, but you're reading and math, we're at the bottom. I mean, we're just creeping our way to the bottom.
Yeah. And it was Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And so for years, Mississippi had been struggling with those areas, but they buckled down over the last several years. Yep. And one of the things that they talked about is how they were able to do so well to get their kids up to and above in reading and writing and mathematician is they weren't changing everything. So they stuck to one standardized test, and then they had their teachers train, and that was the goal to get this to measure the rate of excellence on one standardized test. Versus here in Maryland, we're doing if we don't meet one goal on one test, they switch it to try to get the kids to meet the goal on another test. So we're not establishing any one measure of success. Did you hear about that, Michelle?
Yes, but of course, that's especially in Maryland. Look at Westmore. Look at it. So, if you guys don't know, in Maryland, we lost our AAA. We missed our rating. The bond dropped, and instead they're like, well, it's not us really. They're just not measuring right. So let's switch tests. So the state of Maryland will do that for our economic. They'll do it for everything. And this was the reason I said yes is because it was an overall test that Mississippi ranked 16th, and I believe Maryland was ranked 20th in national public education rankings based on their standardized testing. But no, we're not surprised. And I'm not surprised here. And they will do anything for $1. If it makes them look better and can garnish more, they can get more money and get more money from the state or at the federal level, they're going to do it because it's a lot easier to not take responsibility. It's a lot easier to say, no, the exam failed. Definitely not our teachers, definitely not our schools, definitely not blatant mismanagement from the third grade. When we start these tests, I said it was a disaster during Carter was going to implement this, Reagan, I said it was a disaster, especially when the Bush came along and the No Child Left Behind Act bipartisan debacle that took test scores and attached them to money and attached them to fake false accolades. They didn't give a dang if the kids could actually read. They wanted it to look like it on paper. And here we are, folks. Oh, just so sad.
It is.
Not my kid, not the homeschooling community. And you're right, KJ, they attack us.
Right.
Our kids can read beyond grade level. The majority of homeschooling students can read at a high school or senior level before they get into middle school or by the time they're in middle school. So my kids in elementary school were reading at high school levels because we can do that. Now, that's not every single student, but by and large, homeschooling kids have amazing reading, writing, arithmetic. That's why they do so well and get into their top colleges.
Right. But the left hates homeschooling parents, and they hate these kids that are homeschooled. Why? Because one, a lot of the homeschooling kids, they are patriotic. They know the history. They're told about the founding fathers and things like that. Number two, you can talk about your religion, faith and stuff in the homeschool. And the government schools are trying to get faith and civics and all of it out of the schools. They've actually taken it out of the schools, not trying. They've actually removed this from the schools. And ever since they have, we've seen the success rate of these children drop dramatically. So, and speaking of that, we got to talk about the New York schools. So New York government schools have spent $40,000 per year per student. Take a look at this next clip examining that. This is what we're talking about, folks. All right. This is clip 2.
Nope. It's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different. Florida spends 27% less than the national average, the latest that I've seen, and Florida's doing a lot better than the average in some rankings at the top. New York, they're spending $40,000 a kid. I mean, come on. That's over $500,000 for K through 12. If you gave parents half of that money and let them figure it out, they'd be much better off. In New York, they had a report that just came out showing that 43% of kids are in schools where fewer than half of them are proficient in math. So these are failure factories. These are not public schools. And in New York, they even capped their charter schools. They have tens of thousands of kids on wait lists to get in the charter schools, not because they don't have enough space, but it's because the teachers unions lobby the government to stifle competition at every turn. So they're trying to do that in Florida too. They sued the state to try to get rid of the school choice program recently. They're not going to win, but it just shows you that when they lose in the legislature, they fight in the courts, and they try to block any competition they can.
So
there it is. Michelle, your thoughts?
First off, I love Corey DeAngelis. He's everywhere. I've met him personally at an event. He comes to Maryland often, which I'm not surprised because Maryland is one of those states that pays an enormous amount of money per student with an enormous amount of failure. It is. It's a failure factory. And so he's right. But did you hear that? 40%? When you have in a state where 40% of students are not successful at the basic grade level in reading or in math, that is beyond failure. A 40% used to be an F, but we can have a whole conversation about how they've changed the grading scale. Just like in California, let's change the language. Let's make English a lot easier. Let's add all this slang and nonsense because it's unfair. And here now we're changing grading scales because we don't want an F to look like an F. But the reality is we failed. 40% is a failure. If you want to call it a D minus, fine. It's a failure, abject failure. And these are human beings. These are lives that need to come out and somehow, have a job, earn a living. And he said, that teacher at the beginning, he said something that was so profound. He wanted them to go to college. Maybe. I hope they go to college. I'm not even sure about that. They're going to come out of college. Who's going to go back and teach them how to read so they can get through college? They're just going to skate through and listen to audio and use probably a bunch of chat GPT just to get through. Right. It's so upsetting. He is right. He calls it out everywhere. He travels. He does his research. And sadly, can you imagine $40,000 allotted? And I'll just say this yesterday, I talked to my girlfriend. It was my birthday, everybody, yesterday.
Yes. Everybody wish Michelle a happy birthday.
Thank you. Yes. I had my girlfriend call and she was asking me about homeschooling. And she said, and she's in Utah, and she said here, they give between $5,000 and $6,000 or maybe $7,000 to the parents if they homeschool to cover books and co-ops and things. I was like, oh my gosh, that is, I would love that. That's part of the school choice movement. Out here, we tried to propose that, hey, you're already spending $20,000 on a kid that doesn't go there to your school. Why not give us a tax credit? Why not let us use or allocate $7,500? Keep the rest for the kids that aren't there, but let us have something as parents so we can find a private school or a charter school and get our kids there. Oh, absolutely not. States like Maryland and New York, oh no, we need the money for us. But you're still putting out children. We're talking about the 40%. Let's talk about the kids that are coming out and they're at a 0. They cannot read at a 3rd grade reading level and they're graduating. They can't read at a 1st grade reading level. If that teacher was correct, they're not reading at a basic lower elementary school level. And the states are still asking for more money and won't give it to the parents. Put that money in the hands of the parents and see what happens. The kids will thrive. The left can't have that. Satan can't have that. The teachers' unions can't have children that actually thrive.
Yeah, it's sad. It is so sad. And it's not just one state, it's multiple states, as we mentioned. Maryland, New York's state. Philadelphia. It's a lot of the cities, the areas, the cities or the urban areas within these states that are doing poorly. And they double down on it. Yeah. This is what I don't understand. They double down on it. But this is how you know that these schools have become indoctrination institutes. That's what they've become. It's no longer trying to teach our kids reading and writing and things like that. All they care about is this whole gender ideology and how, the United States is a terrible colonial power. And this is what we get. This is what we get. I was just talking to someone today about these teenagers, and mostly it's the girls that I find, I should say not all the girls, but a heavy population of girls, I would say, over the boys that I talk to are so woke. Yeah. I mean, they are so woke. And it's just not in school, but even outside of the school. They are fixated on social justice. And half the time, many of these people come from well-to-do areas.
Bunch of middle-class kids complaining about social justice. You want to know what social justice is? Why don't you shut up and go pick up a book? Social justice is the fact that your great-great-great-great-grandparents who you claim went through slavery, because not all did, some did, right? My family did, that you claim were slaves. They could read and write better than what our kids could now. And they fought so that you could have an education, so that you could read, do math, own a business, and succeed and know history and not repeat it. You want to talk about justice, do your history, respect your ancestors, respect where you came from, and fight for a better place. And that starts with getting the education they wanted for you. You're not even taking advantage of that. You are woke about the wrong things. Maybe you need to go back to sleep, take a nap, wake up, and do something productive instead of complaining and harping on this stuff that, like I said, the far left, the socialists, the communists, and the queers at this point want you to focus on. So I just can't stand when they talk about, well, my answer, your ancestors could read, and they fought and they died to read. And teachers were persecuted and jailed for teaching slaves how to read. It was illegal. They were fighting so hard to get an education. Here our kids have $20,000 to $40,000 allotted to them, and free lunches and all this stuff, and heating and air conditioning and all these schools, and they won't even take advantage of what's given to them for over 10 years of their lives, depending on the school that you go to. So you get 13 to 15 years, and you won't even take advantage of that because you're so focused on something else.
Yeah. Here is Pastor Lorraine Livingston of Central Church, and he really narrows down on this stuff. Take a look here. This is clip 3.
Children don't come into this world confused. They come in wanting candy and toys. They want to play. They want to have fun. They want to be hugged and held. They want to run and scream. and have a good time, but they don't come in wondering about their privates or about their inclinations or sexual instincts. No. It's unstable, perverted adults that are indoctrinating young children, that are confusing the least of these by planting suggestions in their mind, showing them pictures, and asking them to experiment, at least experiment. I think it is mental child abuse. I think it is psychological brainwashing. I think it ought to be a crime. I think parents ought to rise up. But we've been beaten down, you see, and it's also been held back from us. And the government is silent about it and crooked about it. And they're teaching our children things we don't want them to know. And they're exposing them too early. And they're convincing them of something that isn't even the truth. To me, that is a crime against humanity. And if you are a school teacher who is doing this, you, in my opinion, are a criminal. And if you are a school principal who's promoting this, you are a criminal. And if you're the school board who's pushing this, you're all criminals. You're aiding and abetting perversion, and you're ruining children and our society.
All right. All right. You heard what he said, Michelle. He said, this is a crime against humanity. This is abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that pastor went too far?
Oh, he didn't go far enough, because what is the word? What does the Bible say about it? They may as well go jump and drown, because Matthew 18:6 says, whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to stumble, it would be better to have him have a heavy millstone around your neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. He may as well have said it. They are guilty. They are wrong. He called them out. He did it rightly. Did he go far enough? Oh, no, they are absolutely criminal to the point that they are making children, innocent, young children, as young as preschool and kindergarten, stumble with sexuality of all things, which is one of the deadliest, most harmful sins that the Bible explicitly calls out. Sexual sin and perversion. Yeah, they can go ahead, not just go to jail. The Bible says they can go and drown in the sea with a millstone. It's just that's where they should be. So I think he put it lightly. I think he was fair in what he said. Mm-hmm. Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Amen. Yeah, I agree. Folks, we've seen over the last, I'll say, couple of decades, education has stopped being treated as merely academic. And they've been trying to, they've taken a philosophical change. So the schools now aren't here to just talk about, transmit knowledge. They're now trying to shape the identities of these children. It's as clear as day. In New York City, their official framework is unusually explicit, where they say that they are there to use race, gender, social class, and sexual orientation as elements of learning. This is what the New York City public school education system says. So again, from a biblical worldview, is what that pastor was saying, education is never supposed to do this. All right. Yeah. That is the job of the parents. Okay. But we see this is what they've been trying to do. They hate parents. They've been trying to constantly drill down or take away parental rights. They want the state to eventually become the parents of our children. And this is the result of that. The children they're not learning. They're not prepared for the world. They're prepared to take orders. They're prepared to be told what to do. And with the left taking over media, government, all of that. That's why they're doing this. They want our children dumbed down. They want our children able to receive and take orders and be easily manipulated, because everything around them is used as an indoctrination tool to do the bidding of the left, of globalists.
And they can't read, they can't push back,
right?
And they're not being taught reason. They're not being taught rhetoric. There's no reasoning. They may argue, but they're being taught. You're exactly right, KJ. I just want to give a shout out to our super chatters here and read some of these comments. So thank you, Three Calls with the 30 Jules, has a flower there. I want to say thank you to Gloria with a $50 super chat.
Oh, I didn't see it. Oh my gosh.
We thank you so much. And it says, I graduated 55 years ago. I'm an old Detroit white girl. Shout out to the old Detroit white girls. Okay. Senior English teacher. And she said she was not able to fail. Some students, too. Black students could barely write their name and not much more. They were passed to play college football. It went down from there. That's what I'm saying. Not even allowing the teachers to hold a student back or to fail them. There is an agenda behind it. A lot in sports. My husband said he went through high school. He's on the football team. He never had to read a book. He's like, I never even finished a book. Not one. He didn't have to, because they liked him. He got along. He stood out. And so he just kept getting passed. And then I want to read this comment that Carrie talked about, that, sometimes there's teachers spending a lot of time. She said she taught in California for 30 years and retired, that it was stressful. She didn't get any support. There was no intervention. So there are good teachers, like the teachers that we saw at the beginning. But when the system is now set up and the unions are set up against you, you can't fail this student. Don't say anything. No, they can pass. Give them some extra credit. No, we're talking about reading. That kid should have never made it past the second or third grade or fourth grade, let alone the 7th through 12th grade levels. This is what's happening. And queen of saying that they're on the internet. They're using there's grammar English. They're so used to this right now that I'm seeing some of my younger kids that are spelling the way that they see it on a phone. I was like, oh, no, we homeschool. This is not what's going to happen here. Finally, I know that someone might have been carrying too that made the point that now in our schools here in America, because I know we have amazing people all over the world that watch us, we have teachers that are trying to work with students who can't even speak English. Think of millions of students who are now in our schools that English is not even a second language. It is not a language at all. So now you have these poor teachers that are stuck in a room with 30 students. Half of them have an IEP. There's students that have behavioral issues. Plus you have students that can't even speak English. And then you're trying to teach them to read and write English. This is a disaster. It is a national disaster for us because this plays on a national and international scale. I don't think you understand when nations overseas can read, write better than us. They're going to start taking over at corporate levels. It makes us less competitive on an international scale. That is dangerous for us in generations to come. Mark my words, and praise God for those kids that make it through, and for the handful of kids that are homeschooled and go to private schools and charters that can kind of salvage what's left of this education system in the United States.
Yeah. It's sad. Folks, and we want to bring you exactly what we're talking about. We've been talking about what these schools have been doing, all night. Well, take a look, because don't take our word for it. Let's show you what they actually teach the children. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 4.
I move that the board hereby accepts both the evidentiary and ultimate findings of fact of the hearing officer, the recommendation of the hearing officer that Ms. Jennifer Honka be dismissed on the grounds of incompetence and neglect of duty, and that the board enter its written order as required by TACTA that Ms. Honka be dismissed with immediate effect.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the floor is now open for debate. Seeing none, Ms. Atwood, would you please call roll?
Director De La Rosa?
Aye.
Director Gaitan?
Aye.
Director Hunter?
Aye.
Director Klein-Molk?
Aye.
Director Sia?
Aye.
Dr. Torres?
Aye.
Mr. Youngquist?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, the motion passes. Thank you, David.
So that was the Department of Education. They opened an investigation into Denver public schools after a teacher allegedly made female students make out with each other in class and then graded them on it. Had you heard about that, Michelle?
Oh, yeah, I heard about it because I was so livid. And the fact that they tried to downplay it, oh, it was girls. They tried to make it so it's not, so you're not, I don't care who it is. Those are children. They shouldn't be touching any other child, let alone putting their lips on them. I mean, again, this is deviant. This is pedophilia at its worst, at its best, whatever you want to call it. This was a child abuse. She should be thrown in prison if she's not already, but she needs to be in prison for that. How do you force children to do something sexual against their will? Because I guarantee you there's students and they're like, wait, what? And then you're being graded on it. I wouldn't, if I'm so glad I homeschooled, guys. I actually told my husband a while ago, I said, hon, I will go to jail. I will be in prison because I don't think I can handle what was going on in the schools at the time. I said, I will mess around and catch a case coming into these schools. If these teachers do to my child what I watched them do when I was just substituting or just helping. I was there volunteering. I was like, I saw things that felt like prison camp, but this is outrageous. This is the far left agenda. This is the drag queen story time, guys. So let's just see if we can have these girls, try kissing and then say, oh, you did a great job. This isn't cute. This is demonic. This is evil. This is homosexuality. This is wickedness in the schools. And those poor children will never be the same. Will never. There's nothing you could do to take that back, to erase it. There's no way. Again, millstone, neck, sea, throw her over.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's sick. But this is what they're focusing on while our kids can't read and write. This is what we're telling you guys. We're not making this up. This is actually happening in the classrooms. And that wasn't even the worst of it. I've seen far worse things. Again, we've talked about this on the show multiple times, how we've gone and testified again, at the school boards where they have books in the schools that are just blatant pornography. Yeah. And they have these books readily available for students. And we go to the school boards and we read passages within these books out loud, and you're actually asked to leave because it's so explicit. It's so explicit, but they have these books readily available for middle schoolers and even elementary school kids, and of course high school, readily available. It's sad. It's sick. It is sick. But this is what happened. We already know this is the goal. This is the goal. I mean, folks, we've said this before. We're living in the last days. And, the enemy is out here to rob, steal, and destroy. And the destroy part in this situation is to destroy the innocence of every child. Okay. He's here to destroy the innocence of the children, to deceive them, to tell them what is right is wrong and wrong is right. Yeah. And they're using these teachers because children see the teachers as authority. And so you would think, okay, if the teacher is saying then this must be okay. This must be correct. And it's not. So this is why, I mean, I know people, it's hard to, people are working, parents are working, you got to make a living. And sometimes it's difficult to, homeschool. But, I just say, if you can, I would certainly recommend that. Or if you can put your child, there are people are forming the co-ops or the small parent groups where kids, parents take, have taken group of you with like-minded values and things, get together and you form a little area where you can, educate the children, but get them out of these public schools. Get them out.
It's so sad. I mean, I'm an 80s, 90s baby, and thanks guys for the birthday wishes. So appreciate it. But yeah, 81, I was born in 81, and just growing up, we could go to school and when we graduated, we could read. I didn't know anybody that didn't. We were reading out loud all the time. And maybe it was just the state that I went to, but to see how different it is now, it breaks my heart. Again, I'm blessed to homeschool. And guys, it's not the same. There's so many ways to homeschool. You can homeschool even if you work full time. There are ways. If you are in a state, trust me, get in these mom homeschool groups. Go to like a county Facebook chat or something like that and say, hey, work full time. How can I homeschool? Any suggestions? I know people that have daycare facilities that actually advertise and homeschool your child. So they help and take in your kids that need to be homeschooled while you're working, and they will help them with their schoolwork. I know a nanny who did the same thing, because I would meet her at the park and she had 4 or 5 kids there. And so, yeah, that's what she did. They exist. There's online. And the other misconception is that school has to be done during the day. School can be done in the evening all the time. Oh my gosh, on the campaign trail or when we're traveling, half the time my kids, I'm like, hey, it's 6 o'clock. Guys, we have to do our schoolwork. It only takes 3 to 4 actual hours of work to educate a child, to give them the information that they need. Now, I'm going to say that because somebody was talking about the Amish in one of the early chats. And the Amish students, most of them, by the time they're 15, they're finished with school, but their understanding, their reading levels are beyond what our high schoolers are. The same thing with homeschooling students. Most homeschoolers have what they need. My kids have their credits, the same applicable credits as they would have had if they went to public school by the time they're sophomores. Their junior year, they're flying through and getting some extra senior credits, or they're dual enrolling, and their senior year, they're literally floating by for fun. And a lot of my friends and girlfriends, they just graduated their kids and went off to college. So there's so many possibilities. Find yourself somebody who does, I do homeschool advisory type stuff. So y'all reach out to me. There's just way too many opportunities to save your child. And I say that because it is time for us to fight for these children and save our own children. The government is not going to do it for us because they don't want to. They don't want to save our children. They want them destroyed. They want them under their thumb. They want to take the authority, like KJ said, from the parents. And it's time for us to say no. Now, some parents just haven't been involved enough to realize you can't always defend your kids for work. Maybe they aren't paying attention. But at this point, the schools should have sent notice that, hey, Jimmy's not reading and he's in the 3rd grade or 4th grade. Would you like us to help? You probably need to work with them with some programs. Here's some suggestions. They're not even doing that. So I need parents to get involved. Do what you have to do. A time is coming where we may not have this opportunity. Guys, your kids are worth it. This generation is, I don't want to say it's lost, but we're losing a battle, and we're losing it to the far left. We are losing it to satanic, evil influences like this disgusting piece of trash teacher who thought it was okay to turn her classroom into a Katy Perry song with cherry chapstick because she thought that was, she was living out her sick fantasies. That is disturbing and disgusting. Again, I wouldn't have made it in this because I would have went in and take her out of the classroom. She wouldn't have had to wait for so it would have been me. I would have repented, guys. Don't worry. And you know what? I have plenty of money in the bank. I would have got my husband would have bailed me out. But I bet you I would have saved some kids because I'm just not having that. I'm so passionate. I know. Again, I'm just passionate about kids. As my shirt says, "Leave the children alone." It has like a lioness on it and I wear it out all the time. But leave the kids alone. Leave the babies alone that are inside the womb. Leave the kids alone in elementary school. Leave the children alone. Let them read. Let them be kids. Like the pastor said, give them candy. Let them explore the outside. Let them be. Why are we doing this? Why are we allowing this to happen? Complacency, right? Yeah. So I need the Christians to stand up. Even if you don't have kids or grandkids and your kids are already grown and successful, that's great. But I need Christians to stand up and say, this is not right. These reading levels and math levels, they aren't right because guess what? That's your taxpayer money.
Right.
Your money is paying for them to fail kids. Do something about it. That's what I have to say. Do something.
Absolutely. Folks, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. All right. That does it for us tonight. We will be back on Sunday, this Sunday, same time, 9 p.m. If you were blessed by this conversation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We're here to stand on truth, speak faith, and fight for the faith. Well, speak life and fight for faith and family. Until next time, keep your eyes on Christ and your heart rooted in truth. God bless you. And happy birthday, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. Bye, guys. Nice on Sunday.
This is Christian Conservative. I'm KJ with Michelle Talkington.